Is running back coming back around? We shall discuss. What's up, everybody? Welcome in. It's Nuanez Now, 1029 ESPN Radio, as well as the ESPN MT app, and streaming live on YouTube and Facebook and Twitch. I'm Colter Nuanez, coming to you through the Grizzly Disposal Studio here at the Missoula Broadcasting Company. We have some awesome stuff coming up, some awesome things coming your way. And we will have a big announcement coming up on Thursday. We've been sort of working behind the scenes, not sort of. We've been working hard behind the scenes to get things all smoothed out. So stay tuned for that. 5 o'clock hour during Thursday's Nuanez Now. Please join us, and we'll have plenty to get to, but a big announcement that will certainly impact positively the future of this fine radio company and broadcasting entity. When I talk about running backs, Bijan Robinson, a record-setting contract from the Atlanta Falcons. So that's where we'll start today. I also got a chance to see Griz football practice on Monday. So I'll give you some impressions out of that, both on the field and off the field. We also will have our latest Treasure State Stars, highlighting some of the best individual performances from around the state of Montana. And we will also give you a chance to win some free Taglieri Deli, courtesy of Tag Tuesday, Taglieri, every Tuesday here on Nuanez Now. That's all just in hour number one. Hour number two, we'll hear from a quartet of folks from Griz football. Bobby Kennedy, the head coach, Brent Pease, the offensive coordinator, Keali'i, the quarterback, the senior quarterback, and Gage Sliter, the another senior quarterback. Actually, weird to think those guys. I'm gonna mess this up in my diction, my lexicon, just relentlessly, I'm sure. There is no more red shirts. You get 5 years to play 5. That's it. So when you are your first year in college, you're a freshman. Your second year of college, you're a sophomore, junior, senior. Then if you are a fifth year, you are a fifth year. That's what you are called. So Ayat is a fourth year junior. He is a red shirt junior. But he's not anymore because there's no red shirts. So he is a senior, and then he'll be a fifth year next year. If you are a sixth or beyond, you are a grad transfer. So I'm sure I'm going to mess that up a million times. I'm sure we're going to get a ton of questions about it. But we'll hear from Keali'i and Gage Sliter. From the Griz side of things, we'll also hear from Braden Zimmer. From the Bobcat side of things, Zimmer, a preseason all-conference selection, a returning freshman All-American last year for the Cats, and one of the best players to come out of the state of Montana. I think he's a bona fide pro prospect as an offensive tackle out of Billings West High School. So that's all coming your way here in a jam-packed Nuanez Now. As always, coming to you through the Grizzly Disposal Studio at the Missoula Broadcasting Company. Grizzly Disposal. Locally owned, veteran-owned, the only Bears that should be in your garbage. We have long been partnered with SWX Montana Television, and that certainly is a partnership that is still strong, but we are not on the air right now because we're figuring out a couple logistical things for our daily sports talk show. So that's coming up, the announcement coming on Thursday, but no TV. If you're missing the TV, you can always find us on ESPN MT app or on YouTube. Please go subscribe to our YouTube channel. We promise we'll try to make it worth your while. But as always, you can find us 1029ESPN.com and on the ESPN MT app as well. So check out all those different ways to view this here radio show. Two-time Pro Bowler Bijan Robinson and the Atlanta Falcons reached an agreement on Tuesday for a 3-year contract extension worth up to $75 million. That will make Bijan Robinson the highest paid running back in NFL history, sources told ESPN's Adam Schefter, as well as the NFL Network's Ian Rappaport. Robinson will receive a $51 million guarantee. That's the most guaranteed money that has ever been given to a running back. And I wonder if this is a sign of things to come, or if this is a resetting of the market, or if Bijan Robinson is that good, or if this is just a combination of those factors. We've seen recently, semi-recently, in the NFL that running backs just they just aren't valued at the same level as so many of the other positions. And so much of that's because of the shelf life of a running back. Also, so much of that is the lack of disparity in actual production. In other words, if you have Saquon Barkley and he is in his prime and he stays healthy and he becomes a 1,500-yard rusher, could you replace that same 1,500 yards with 2 or 3 guys that each rush for 650 yards and that you pay each of them $1 million rather than paying Saquon Barkley $12 million? A lot of teams have decided to go with cost-saving measures at running back. There's also the question of, does a running back really get you over the top? Certainly having a good one helps you. Having a great one is a big-time luxury. But, I mean, the Kansas City Chiefs won multiple Super Bowls with Isaiah Pacheco and Kareem Hunt, a couple like just pretty journeyman, standard average running backs as their primary ball carriers. I mean, the Patriots are famous for this, right? They had all sorts of guys that were just solid, good, but by no means like max contract type of player running backs. Also, if you look at the best running backs of the modern era of their generation, how many of those guys were actually champions? And if they were champions, how much of the credit did they deserve, or were they just a key cog within a machine? Like that is also such a big part of this environment, this ecosystem that exists around running backs. But we've seen the last couple of years, certain guys have been getting paid. Saquon Barkley did get paid. He was making $20.6 million a year. He is making $20.6 million a year for the Philadelphia Eagles. Robinson, by the way, $22.5 million once the guarantees are all installed. We also saw Derrick Henry get at least a little bit of money. Josh Jacobs, a little bit of money. But what does Bijan Robinson's contract do to the rest of the NFL? But also, who is in line for that next big payday? I think that most pundits would point towards Jahmyr Gibbs. He waits for he's currently waiting for a contract extension. And I think that Jahmyr Gibbs and Bijan Robinson are relatively close to each other. You also have to wonder how much did the contracts of a couple young guys influence this market as well. Jeremiah Love, who was the number 3 overall pick out of Notre Dame, he actually got $53 million guaranteed, which is still the most guaranteed money ever. I think I said Robinson's $51 million, but I forgot about that draft day deal that Love got. And also Ashton Jeanty got $35.9 million guaranteed. So 2 of the 4 biggest guarantees in the history of the NFL at running back have come by guys that were drafted in the top 10 each of the last 2 years, with Jeanty going to the Raiders and Love going to the Cardinals. Bijan Robinson is a very, very talented player. He's everybody's fantasy football favorite. He led the NFL in yards from scrimmage last year with 2,298. He was 4th in the league in rushing with 1,478 yards. He also had a 93-yard touchdown against the Rams, which was the longest in the NFL last season. When it comes to the Falcons, I have been bullish on the Falcons. I think they need to be better than what they were a year ago. I think they can be better than they were a year ago. But I also think they're going to have to win by leaning into their offense now for sure, but also probably into the future as well, because that's who they're paying. And when you decide to pay guys like they're paying them, then you're going to sacrifice some other areas when you're playing in a salary cap league. Falcons signed Drake London to a 4-year, $141 million contract this offseason. London's been good, but if you're getting paid like that, he needs to be great. Kyle Pitts, a former top 10 pick himself, tight end, he got a 3-year, $54 million deal. And last week, Atlanta left guard Matthew Bergeron signed a 4-year, $96 million extension. So, I mean, you're paying your guard that much, you're paying your tight end, your receiver, and now your running back. That's great. who's going to pan out at quarterback? Is it Tua Tagovailoa or is it Michael Penix? And what are you going to pay that guy? It's a really interesting deal. Really, really interesting roster construction. Because also, how are you going to be able to pay guys on defense as well if you're giving all this money? But they have a new head coach in Kevin Stefanski. He is a well-regarded offensive mind. He was great in Minnesota as an offensive coordinator. He was good in Cleveland when he had pieces, and then it sort of fell apart with him in Cleveland. And at Cleveland, I've said this many times, but the least of the Cleveland Browns' problem is their coach. So I think that getting rid of Kevin Stefanski, not the solution that maybe Cleveland thinks it is, but that poor move then gets Stefanski an opportunity in Atlanta, and I think that's a better fit, and I think he's going to be a lot happier, and I think Atlanta has a chance to be really good on offense. Nuanez now 102.9 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television, and the ESPN MT app. I went to football practice for the first time in a little while. Before we talk football, though, the three-time defending Big Sky Conference champions back on the pitch looking to, again, defend their Big Sky title. Griz Soccer back in action all fall long. One of the best entertainments in all of Missoula. Griz Soccer hosts 9 home matches in addition to the Big Sky Conference tournament. It all begins Thursday, August 13th, with the first of 3 home matches during the month of August. Griz Athletics inviting you to South Campus Stadium for Griz Soccer. Get your season tickets or single game tickets today at gogriz.com/tickets. All right, my thoughts on Griz football practice yesterday. Well, first of all, I only was able to make it to the last hour, so I didn't get to see what they were doing operationally early. One of the things that really made Bobby Houck's practices stand out was the regimented nature of the first 45 minutes. Guys just did this circuit that included special teams drills, tackling drills, and ball security drills. Really, the only guys that aren't doing that are like the kickers, the punters, the long snappers, sometimes maybe the centers, and the quarterbacks. Everybody else, whether you're a receiver or a safety, a defensive back or a defensive end, an offensive lineman, you are going through most of the special team circuits, most of the ball security stuff, most of the tackling drills. So I didn't get to see that on Monday. So I'm going down on Tuesday, so I'll get a better look at all that. The part of the practice I was at, though, where there's a lot of team stuff, a lot of good versus good, and operationally did not look that different than what we've been sort of accustomed to seeing. Now, that said, one of the things that stood out to me the most was that there's been a lot of smack talking going on at Griz practice for years. Most of the teams that I've covered have had a lot of smack talking. But particularly the last 8 years, the vast majority of the smack talking was coming from the Griz that play defense. And it seemed like when the Griz defensive guys would talk smack, that was encouraged by the coaches, or at least accepted. And when the offensive guys for the Griz would talk smack, it seemed like that was maybe not as acceptable. Partly, I think that's because the Griz, their identity as a program has been defensive. Their head coach was a defensive guy. Well, I thought that the offensive guys were talking a whole bunch on Monday. And I think part of that's because they have a lot of swagger. They got a lot of veteran guys. Some of the best players on the Griz play on offense. And I also think that those guys are some of the older guys, some of the guys that are the most proven, some of the best players. And I also think that maybe it's just a little bit more acceptable now because of the fact that there's an offensive coach as the head coach, the most veteran coach, and probably the guy who's behind the scenes leading the way as much as anybody is Brent Pease, the offensive coordinator. So that was something I thought the exchange was very good, and I thought it was very fun to watch, just those guys going back and forth. If you're in the market for Griz soccer tickets, great. If you're in the market for Griz football tickets, those are also on sale. 3-10 defending. I grabbed the wrong read. Don't worry, that's how you know. This is live. I got my scripts right here on the desk. Montana football back as the Griz start an exciting new chapter under head coach Bobby Kennedy. 7 home games. Griz have plenty of opportunities to be part of the best environment in college football. Season tickets start at just $200, and they're nearly sold out once again. 3-game mini plans and single-game tickets are also available. Get your seats today before they're gone. It all starts Saturday, August 29th with a whiteout against Big Sky Conference foe, Southern Utah. Griz football tickets at gogriz.com/tickets. Okay, who stood out to me? So many defensive guys change numbers or are new, and there's so many new guys on the roster. I'm going to need a couple more days to get my full defensive bearings because I just don't have it even close to memorized. But I'll give you a couple guys that did flash to me. Number one guy that stood out, and this is a guy that was not around during spring football, but that was getting a lot of play. Like, people were talking about him. He's getting a lot of praise the last, during the summer months. And that's Landon Ransom Golez. I hope I'm saying his last name right. He is from Trophy Club, Texas. Went to Byron Nelson High School. We have a cool stat about Byron Nelson, the golfer, coming up a little later on here in the show. But he transferred from Rice, and Bobby Kennedy coached this kid at Rice, and has been very high on him. The dude is, he's a 6'1", 185-pound receiver, and I'm not even sure if he's 6'1". He didn't look that tall to me. But his ball skills are insane. His ability to high point the ball, his ability to snare it in the air, excellent. He made some ridiculous catches, some like highlight reel catches that I was very, very impressed with. He also was running a ton with the ones, and I don't know what you make of that. I mean, this was the fourth day of camp and the first day out on the grass at Dornblazer. But I thought he made a big impression. If you look at the highlight reel that Griz Athletics put out earlier this week, dude is all over the place. Dude is nails. Very, very impressive. So he was my number one standout on offense in terms of new guys, like the number one that like broke out to me. On defense, a couple new guys that caught my eye. I need to get this guy to really learn how to say his first name. Naite, I think is how you say it. Mose, I know how to say his last name. He is a transfer from Georgetown, inside linebacker. But he made several plays on the ball. He had a pick. He had another pass breakup. He got his hand in there and ripped the ball out. So certainly he looked pretty good. Who are the guys that emerged at linebacker? We know Peyton Wing. We know Solomon Tuliapupu. Who else? Is Clay Oven ready to be that guy? Is Mose ready to slide in there? What about Justin Eklund, who transfers from Bowling Green? Tanner Williams from San Diego State. They have a ton of transfers there. They want to have 4, 5, 6 linebackers that play. I'm almost certain of that. But Mose, I mean, I don't think you bring in a fifth-year guy who's played at the Division I level, who comes from a prestigious high school like Trinity High School in Euless, Texas. I don't think you bring that guy in unless you expect him to contribute somewhere for you on the field. And he looked like a guy that looks ready to contribute right away, right out the gates. The other defensive guy I'll give you, and again, these are just the new guys that really stood out to me. I need to watch the exchange between players a little bit more. But Tyler King, number 90, is a senior defensive lineman, transfer from Central Washington University. He's listed at 6'5", 255, and that is exactly what he is. He is a big dude. He looks the part all day long. Again, I need to analyze his ability to get off blocks, use his hands, play with pad level, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But size-wise, he absolutely looks the part. Again, we'll have more impressions number by number, position by position as we make our way. But those three guys really caught my eye on day one. It's now 1029 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television, and the ESPN MT app. Colter Nuanez coming to you through the Grizzly Disposal Studio. Grizzly Disposal has construction roll-off boxes for your construction project. Don't wait days or even weeks. Grizzly Disposal can turn them around for you quick. They get them to you within 24 hours. Give them a call, 406-541-7171. That's 406-541-7171, Grizzly Disposal. The only Bears that should be in your garbage. The other two guys that really stood out to me, this is completely low-hanging fruit, but I think it's also great news if you're a Griz person, are the guys that are supposed to be the Montana's two best players. Keali'i and Eli Gilman. Gilman has been absolutely a specimen physically ever since he walked onto campus. He looks even better. I mean, he looks like he's in the best shape of his life. I don't know what he's weighing, but if it's a little bit more than what he's been playing at, that would not surprise me whatsoever. I think we all know he's a special player, but I think he is entering this season with a clear mind. I don't think he has a ton of distractions. People can't ask anymore, where is he transferring? Where is he going? Is he going to stay? He's staying. He's at Montana. This is his last college football season. He cannot go anywhere else. This is it. I think he also understands his place in history. I think he understands that if he puts it together, he can not only just shatter the rushing records, but he can put them way out there where they're almost unbreakable. I think he understands that for as much fanfare and as much popularity as he's been able to establish, that will increase even more. Now that he has chosen to stay, he has shown loyalty, and he is going to break these hallowed records. The number one thing that stood out to me watching Gilman on Monday was he has always had good hands, but they haven't thrown the ball that much. They were working that part of their offense quite a bit. That's a devious weapon because Gilman is fast. I mean, he is elite fast, FBS world-class type fast. So if you can get him in space even more than they already do, that is a great weapon to have. Of course, you expect Gilman to be great. They didn't have pads on, so how do you really gauge? But I just thought physically he looked tremendous. He looks like he's in phenomenal shape, best shape of his career. And he you could just tell this aura about him. He knows that his time is now, and that I think he's ready to soak up a great senior year. Quarterback, though, I mean, Keali'i, you expect him to make a jump, but he made a huge jump last year, so how much more of a jump can he make? That's a huge question. And again, this was yesterday, non-contact practice with no pads on, but his command of the offense is incredibly clear. There's no doubt who is in charge, who's the captain, who's the guy that's controlling the troops. His ability to lead and sort of coach guys up, but also have high expectations for them. If they drop a pass, if guys aren't in the right spot, I'm gonna throw it here, you go here. Like he's comfortable enough to do that now. As a guy that's been in the program for 4 years, you can tell his trust with Brent Pease has grown quite a bit too. We're gonna hear from Brent Pease and Keali'i talking about that in hour number 2. So be sure to keep it tuned here. Stay tuned for that. But his presence, his confidence, all those things are the things, like, you knew Ayat was a really talented guy the first time you ever saw him his freshman year. Then you thought, okay, he just needs the game to slow down for him a little bit so he can process some stuff. Then you probably needed him to go through some stuff. And he went through some stuff his second year in the program because he had to rotate almost ad nauseum with Logan Fife. And that was certainly controversial. I know that was hard on those guys. It was certainly hard on the team. But he got through that, and I think even though if it was me, I just would have put him out there and just let him learn by failing and learn by winning and learn, by taking his lumps. But they didn't do that. But I do think that adversity helped motivate Ayat and really keep him sharp and focused. Then last year he takes the huge jump because of his physical maturity and his mental maturity and the fact that he gained the confidence to be the man. But then you're thinking, okay, does he take a similar jump? And if so, what does that mean? How good can this guy become? Again, I need a bigger sample size, but he was absolutely slanging it on Monday. He is so good throwing on the run. He is so good at making stuff happen in and out of the pocket. His arm strength continues to get better. He's just so impressive. I'm just so impressed with a guy that is already really good being able to become even that much better. And again, is he going to take – if he takes a jump like he took last year into this year, I mean, the dude's like a pro, right? And if he takes that jump again, he's going to be a draft pick. He's going to have to deal with all of the scuttle that Gilman's has had to deal with over the last several years, and that is, Where are you going? Are you going to stay? Are you going to go? I think Ayat's staying. I think Ayat's going to be a Griz until his career is over. And that's just from getting to know him a little bit and just knowing how he's wired, his culture that he comes from, the loyalty that's present all the time in Islander culture. But either way, again, I'm not ready to confirm that he has taken as big of a jump from last year to this year as he did between last offseason. But he looked dang good on Monday, and I'm excited to see. And again, it's not just him throwing the ball or him being able to hit a deep ball or him being able to throw a back shoulder or any of that stuff. It's also just the way he's carrying himself, the way he gets in and out of huddles, the way he's talking to guys on the sidelines in between series, the way, it also just becomes natural in the progression of things. When you are a senior now, the guys you're throwing to are by and large either your same age or younger. So it's easier to lead guys that look up to you. He's a well-established guy. He's an all-conference guy. He's an all-American caliber type of guy. That's easier to lead that type of guy. If you're that type of guy, if you have that reputation within the locker room. We'll hear from Keali'i and Brent Pease, as well as Bobby Kennedy and Gage Sliter coming up in hour number 2. But appreciate you for hanging, and I'll have more impressions out of Griz practice in the upcoming days and weeks. You're listening to Nuanez Now. It's 102.9 ESPN Radio. Treasure State Stars on the other side. Don't check that down. Keep it right here. Welcome back. Nuanez Now, 102.9 ESPN Radio. Appreciate you for hanging out. I'm Colter Nuanez. We are coming to you through the Grizzly Disposal studio here at the Missoula Broadcasting Company. Grizzly Disposal has one bin recycling. They can pick it up from your house a couple times a month. Don't waste your time or your energy or the mess hauling it all over town. Let Grizzly Disposal pick it up for you twice a month. If you would like to add one bin recycling, or you'd like to make your switch to locally owned and operated waste management, or both, give Grizzly Disposal a call, 406-541-7171. That's 406-541-7171, or visit grizzlydisposal.com. Grizzly Disposal, the only bears that should be in your garbage. Time for our Treasure State Stars, probably presented by Parkside Credit Union. We're a little bit thin on actual, what's going on in the world of sports, just because, what performances are happening currently. That's an interesting fold, certainly, because mostly it's just practices to prepare for the sports, right? There's a couple golf tournaments going on. Certainly American League Baseball is still going on for just a couple teams. The Missoula Mavericks headed to the American Legion Regional. The Belgrade Bandits had an offensive explosion to win the Class A state championship at American Legion. There's a golf tournament here, there's a rodeo here or there, but mostly we're just in the preparation mode for fall sports. So there's not a ton of Treasure State Stars to highlight, but certainly a few. So let's get right to it. We'll start with those Missoula Mavericks. They are headed to the American Legion Regional Tournament for the first time, or for the third year in a row, for the 11th time in program history. They have been on an unbelievable run. This is just the second time ever that we've had a three-peat in American Legion baseball in Montana. Last time it happened was the Helena Senators, 2001, 2002, and 2003. This Mavs team has done it with awesome pitching, clutch hitting. Stellan Ridley has been awesome on the bump. Andrew Richardson has been awesome on the bump. Colter Nuanez has been awesome on the bump and at the plate. The Mavs have been great. They've been clutch. And they've been playing their best baseball down the stretch. This was a team that was hovering right there toward the top of the standings coming down the stretch, but then they started winning and winning some more, and then they won a 3-game series against Lethbridge to get the number 1 seed. And then they ran through the state tournament undefeated. And they take a ton of momentum into the regional. The regional, though, is going to be very, very challenging. The level of Montana baseball is good, but when you get into that regional, when you get some of these teams from the big metros, like the Pacific Northwest big metros, these are small cities on an American scale, but teams like Seattle, or cities, like Seattle, Portland, Spokane, Boise. More people just means more opportunity to have, better arms, better legs, better bats, all that stuff. So Tall task, no doubt, but I think the Mavs certainly are primed for at least being competitive in this deal. And if you missed our interview with Brent Hathaway, the manager of the Mavs, you can find that from Nuanez Now yesterday. It's in the second hour, about 27 minutes in. I know that because I just said it to Coach Hathaway. Mr. Hathaway was my 8th grade math teacher years and years and years ago. Crazy to think about how long ago that actually was. 26 years ago now. He's been the coach of the Mavs for the duration of my time living in Missoula. And he's brought home 11 state championships, so pretty dang impressive. Thursday Stars, probably presented by Parkside Credit Union. How about the Belgrade Bandits? They needed 2 wins Sunday to steal a state championship away from the Miles City Mavericks in Dillon. Bandits needed just 10 innings to pull it off, though. They beat Miles City via run rule in back-to-back games after 5 frames both times. Belgrade scored 30 runs across the 2 deciding matchups, which certainly closed out the Class A tournament emphatically. They head to Casper, Wyoming on Thursday for the beginning of the Class A Northwest Regional Tournament. That's the only regional tournament held across Class A Legion Baseball. So here's the deal. Most Class A teams are the feeder programs for AA teams. That's how it is in Montana in a lot of the towns. But that's well, I shouldn't say a lot of the towns, just a few of the towns, right? Kalispell, Great Falls, Bozeman, Billings. I guess Billings has 2 American Legion teams. Missoula. But then a lot of the other towns, the Belgrade, Dillon, Miles City, the Class A and the Class B towns, they have American Legion teams, but that's their flagship team. That's their team that's like their premier American Legion team. So the Northwest Regional, it makes sense because that's where you're going to have Wyoming and Idaho and some of these other rural states where the Class A is the big team of the town, right? And so it's not that surprising that it's the only regional that exists, but this is a cool deal for Belgrade. So we'll keep you up to date with what's going on with the Belgrade Bandits as well with baseball season rolling on. First State Stars, probably presented by Parkside Credit Union, a great place in western Montana to get a loan because Parkside Credit Union loves to say yes. First State Star number 3, Hank Smith. We talked about him last week, but worth mentioning again, he's a Frenchtown senior to be, and he gave his verbal commitment to the Montana Griz men's basketball team. It's a little bit of a change of pace for the Griz. They have at times recruited Montana really, really well. At times they have maybe let guys get away. They made the decision, and neglect is the wrong word too, made the decision to not recruit some in-state guys. Certainly the one that has gotten the most headlines and the most play on this show has been Lincoln Rogers, who was a great player at Missoula Sentinel, led them to a state championship. But they let him go to Minnesota Moorhead, and some people didn't like that decision. But they're keeping Hank Smith home. I think Hank Smith is he's more physically prepared for the Division I level than Rogers. Rogers has more upside because Rogers is taller and longer and probably a little bit more skilled. But Smith is more physically formidable. He's much more sturdy. He weighs more. He's stronger, et cetera, et cetera. And I just love that Smith is staying home. I think Smith has a chance to be really, really good. I think he's got a huge upside. I think he's freaky athletic. I know that he wants it bad. And the fact that he's from Frenchtown, I think it just accentuates it a little bit. Trash Stars probably presented by Parkside Credit Union, a great place in western Montana to get a loan because Parkside Credit Union loves to say yes. Phil Steele All-American team came out. There's a whole bunch of guys that were on there for both the Cats and the Griz. A lot of the familiar names, familiar faces. So, if you wanted this time of year, we could say that Eli Gilman and Keali'i and Peyton Wing for Montana and Justin Lamson, Taco Dowler, Caden Dowler, Braden Zimmer, Titan Fleischman, Adam Jones, all those guys. They could be Treasure State Stars every week because they're going to continue to pop up on these preseason all-conference lists. But that seems a little bit redundant. So instead, we'll just go with the 2 Division I programs in the state of Montana. The first Stats FCS poll is out, and Montana State, unanimous, number 1, 57 out of 57 first-place votes in that poll. Montana comes in at number 2. I think maybe that was a little bit of a surprise. I thought the Griz would be in the top 5, no question. But I thought South Dakota State, Illinois State might be a little bit ahead of Montana. But Montana comes in at number 2. South Dakota State comes in at number 3. Illinois State comes in at number 4. Tarleton State is number 5. UC Davis is number 6, giving the Big Sky 3 of the top 6 teams. Rhode Island's number 7. Villanova's number 8. Youngstown State number 9. North Dakota number 10. Other names worth noting: South Dakota, who lost in Missoula in the playoffs last year, they're number 12. Stephen F. Austin, who lost in Bozeman in the playoffs last year, they come in at number 13. Yale, who lost in Bozeman in the playoffs last year, comes in at number 18. And Northern Arizona out of the Big Sky Conference comes in at number 25. Other Big Sky schools receiving votes include Idaho State. They are just the first one out of the poll. Southern Utah comes in the low 30s, and that's it when it comes to Big Sky teams. But still, basically 4 of the top 25, 2 in the top 35, let's say. So the Big Sky expected to be formidable once again, but Montana State leading the way. And no surprise the Cats were the number 1 team in the poll, but maybe a little bit of a surprise that the Griz came in at number 2. Appreciate Parkside Credit Union for their continued support of Treasure State Stars. Parkside Credit Union, a great place in western Montana to get a loan because Parkside Credit Union loves to say yes. We got some free sandwiches for you. Taglieri Tuesday, Tag Tuesday, every Tuesday here on Nuanez Now. We'll do that on the other side. Don't change that dial. Keep it right here. It's 1029 ESPN Radio. Yo, welcome back. 1029 ESPN Radio. Colter Nuanez coming to you through the Grizzly Disposal studio here at the Missoula Broadcasting Company. Grizzly Disposal, locally owned, veteran owned. The only bears that should be in your garbage. It's Tuesday. That means it's a Tag Tuesday. Taglieri Deli. I got myself and my wife some tag the other day. Man, it's not just how delicious it is, but it's also just how efficient it is. The website's easy to use. You just go on there, you just, okay, here's the sandwich I want. Okay, maybe I want a little alteration. Like my wife wanted to switch out the aioli for the vinaigrette, and she wanted to add some hot peppers to her sandwich. Okay, boom, you just click it right there, and then they'll just have it ready for you. You can just pick it up. If you pay online, you just walk right into the shop. You pick it out of the cooler. It's got your name on it. You're off and running. You don't even have to do any sort of POS transaction. You don't have to give them your card, nothing like that. It's brilliantly fluid and so efficient. Taglieri has 2 locations in Missoula. Also have a new location in Spokane as well. You can check them out in Missoula on the corner of Higgins and Beckwith. You can also find them in the Sawmill District on Wyoming Street, and you can always order online as well. And you're going to have a chance to win a $25 gift card from Taglieri every single Tuesday here on Nuanez Now, including right now. So text us, 406-888-1029. That's 888-1029. Let us know what you want us to talk about. When you text it, then Hayden can give it to me, and then if your question appears on the show, you'll be entered in to win a variety of fine prizes, but today, some sandwiches or whatever you want to spend on. Tag Tuesday, every Tuesday here on Nuanez Now. Still today in sports history. Here's a crazy one that I found. This is August 4th, 1982. This is widely purported as the most unique stat in baseball history. Joel Youngblood became the only player in Major League Baseball history to get a hit in for two different teams in 2 different cities on the same day. He got a hit for the Mets in Chicago in the afternoon. Chicago famously plays day games more than anybody else. The Cubs do. Anybody else in baseball. Then Youngblood was traded. He flew to Philadelphia. They had a night game that night against the Expos. He got traded from the Mets to the Expos. They played in Philly that night. So he gets from Chicago to Philly, and he gets another hit. So 2 hits, 1 day, 2 teams. Pretty crazy. I don't know if that's ever going to happen again. The number one circumstance that has to occur for that to happen is you'd have to play a day game, and probably that would mean you have to play a day game in Chicago. So you'd have to play for the Cubs or against the Cubs during the day, and then you'd have to get traded on a day where then there's a night game. So that is the first circumstance that has to happen. But then you also have to do it. I think now in the era of load management and stuff like that, I don't even know if if any franchise would do that. Like if they would play a guy that just got traded, I think they would just sit him, right? the franchises are so much more protective of players now, and justifiably so, just because of the amount of money they're getting paid. Another today in sports history. This is a fun golf one. This is from August 4th, 1945. Byron Nelson wins his 11th straight PGA Tour event. That's insane. Like, imagine if anybody won 11 straight now. I mean, no one has even come remotely close to that. Many consider that the most untouchable record in all of golf. 11 consecutive PGA Tour wins. Shows you how much the game has changed. You know, that was some, do the math, 81 years ago. But consider what that would be like now. If you got a guy that gets like 11 straight top 10s, that's so impressive right now. But 11 wins, I mean, even just 11 wins in one season would be crazy. Like Scotty Scheffler's sitting here winning, 3, 4, 5, 6 tournaments in a calendar year. Imagine if you won 11. Then imagine if you won 11 in a row. Like, you were just sizzling. That's why Byron Nelson, even though the comparing and contrasting of golfers all time is so interesting. Because you have guys from the old school like Byron Nelson, like Ben Hogan, like Walter Sarazen, that have just inarguable resumes, like such crazy statistical measures. I think it's a fool's errand to say, well, how would those guys stack up today? I think if you gave all those guys the same equipment, the same training, the same opportunities, the same balls, the same course, all that, I think a lot of those guys would stack up today. But if you just took the 1945 version of Byron Nelson and put him in the 2026, Players Championship or the Masters or PGA Championship, he would get destroyed. But that's not what it is, because it's totally different technology. It's different balls. It's a different style. It's a different game. But you can't disregard those old school players. Like, I think a lot of people think of the old school just going back to Jack Nicklaus and Arnold Palmer. But I do think that a few, the Ben Hogans, and of course the Byron Nelsons of the world, must be considered in the conversation of all-time great golfers as well. Okay, let's do one more. Nuanez down at 102.9 ESPN Radio. Actually, I got two more for you. On August 4th, 1936, so that's 90 years ago, Jesse Owens won Olympic gold in the long jump in Berlin. He went on to win 4 gold medals in that Olympics. And it was a moment in sports history that has endured. Many moments from way back in the 1930s have not endured, but that one certainly did. Jesse Owens winning gold in Berlin in front of Adolf Hitler when the Nazi Party was in the middle of its rise to infamy. Jesse Owens is a black man from America to be able to do that. Pretty unbelievable. Pretty unfathomable, to be honest, courage and fortitude to be able to do that. And Owens was great in a variety of different events, but the long jump was the one where that's what stamped it as an all-time great Olympic performance. Winning 1 gold medal is crazy. Winning 2 is unforgettable. 3, you're in unbelievably elite company. 4, you're basically in a league with, just a handful of the greatest athletes of all time. The other story is that he received some advice during the qualifying from his German rival, Luz Long. Those two then became great friends. And that was sort of the enduring story of that Olympics outside of Owens' courage, his ability to overcome, and the fact that he did it in such pressure-packed circumstances. All right, one more. Today in sports history, August 4, 2007, Barry Bonds hit one of the most controversial home runs of all time. It was his 755th of his career that helped tie Hank Aaron. 3 days later, he hit another home run to give him the all-time career record. Barry Bonds, of course, is much maligned. Many people would say has to have an asterisk by his numbers. He ended up finishing with 762 home runs. That 2007 season, 19 years ago, was his final season as a pro. he still remains, at least in total number, the all-time leader in career home runs. There's only been 4 guys that ever hit over 700. Albert Pujols hit 703. Babe Ruth hit 714. Hank Aaron hit 755. Barry Bonds hit 762. Only 9 guys have ever hit over 600. Sammy Sosa, Jim Thome, Ken Griffey Jr., Willie Mays, Alex Rodriguez, all part of those lists, along with Pujols, the Babe, Hammer and Hank, and Barry Bonds. I've given my 2 cents a million times on Barry Bonds. I think it's undeniable that Barry Bonds, like the Game of Shadows book that came out about the Balco scandal and about Barry Bonds' engagement in performance-enhancing drugs, I think that is undeniable evidence of what Bonds engaged in. Because that book is so detailed in terms of the timeline of when Barry Bonds first started working with Victor Conti and first started taking steroids, I believe that there's a definitive timeline for when Barry Bonds took steroids. If you're a purist and you believe that book is true, which I do, then that's fine. Eliminate everything that happened from the moment Barry Bonds started taking steroids administered by Victor Conti and Balco. If you do that and you erase everything from Barry Bonds' career from that day forward, Barry Bonds is still a first ballot Hall of Famer, which is why I believe Barry Bonds deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. Barry Bonds had already won 4 MVP awards before he ever took a steroid. Barry Bonds had already hit over 400 home runs before he ever took a steroid. He was the only player in baseball history with 400 home runs and 400 steals. He was a double-digit Gold Glover. He was the best player of his generation besides Ken Griffey Jr. before he ever took a steroid. So if you want to erase 300 and I think he had 490-something home runs when he first started taking steroids. So let's say you're going to erase half his home runs. You're going to get rid of 365, 375 home runs. That's fine. Get rid of all those. Get rid of all those MVP awards with the Giants. Get rid of the single-season home run record. Eliminate it. He's still a Hall of Famer. You can hate Barry Bonds all you want. I know what I saw. He's the greatest baseball player I've ever seen in my life. I did not see Willie Mays, but my uncles tell me about him all the time. I certainly loved Ken Griffey Jr. as a kid as well. Nobody compares to Barry Bonds, period. He deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. That's today in sports history, and we'll finish up with a little bit of a diamond time. We appreciate DeMorris Automotive for their continued support of what we got going on here at ESPN Radio, DeMorris Automotive. Family-owned and operated for more than 6 decades, your go-to when it comes to Buick, GMC, and Oldsmobile in the city of Missoula. Appreciate their support of our baseball coverage here on Nuanez Now. Hour 1 of the books, hour 2 coming at you. Don't change that dial. Keep it right here, 102.9 ESPN Radio. Yo, welcome back. Hour number 2 coming your way. It's Nuanez Now, 102.9 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television, and the ESPN MT app. I'm Colter Nuanez coming to you through the Grizzly Disposal studio here at the Missoula Broadcasting Company. Grizzly Disposal, locally owned, veteran-owned, the only bears that should be in your garbage. If you missed anything in the first hour of the show, you can always find it on the Nuanez Now podcast, which is available on all your various podcast hosting platforms. Please rate, review, subscribe. We had some general impressions of Griz Athletics, Griz Fall Camp, that is. They started last week, but they were on Doorblazer Field for the first time on Monday. So I got a chance to check out about an hour worth of practice yesterday. So I gave you some of my impressions, some of my storylines coming out of that. We also had our latest Treasure State Stars, highlighting some of the best individual performances from around the state of Montana. A little baseball, a little rodeo. We also had our latest Today in Sports History, which is a fun little deal, and we gave you some Tag Larry Deli as well. Like we do every Tuesday here on Tag Tuesday. Appreciate Tag Larry for their continued support of us here at ESPN Radio. All that on the pod, which is available on all your various podcast hosting platforms. Please rate, review, subscribe. An interview heavy hour number 2 coming your way. We are going to hear from several people from the Griz football team. So here's how they're doing. I went over this last week, but I think it's an interesting change, and I think in some ways a welcome change. You're going to see a lot of the same content here across the board, on the various, whether you're watching SWX or KPAX or whatever. So you'll see the same interviews a lot of times, just packaged in a different format. But here's how it goes. Bobby Kennedy's going to talk to the media every day after practice. Group scrum, sort of like a press conference, just right there on the practice field. Then we'll have an assistant coach or two from a specific position group. Then we'll have a couple players from that position group. So Monday, for example, offensive coordinator Brent Pease, who's also the quarterbacks coach for the Griz. He and Bobby Kennedy both addressed the media. And then we heard from Keali'i, this is weird, senior quarterback, as well as Gage Sliter, this is weird, senior quarterback. So here's the deal with the classes. And I'm going to mess this up a million times. Ayat, because of the rule change, Ayat is now a senior even though he's a fourth year. So since he's a senior in college, academically, he is also now listed as a senior on the roster. He still has 2 years of eligibility remaining. Next year, he'll be listed as a fifth year if he stays in Montana or if he transfers somewhere else. He would be listed as a fifth year, not a senior. Same thing with Sliter. He's a fourth-year junior. But he's a senior because he's a fourth year. He's been in college for 4 years. So now there is no more red shirts. You have 5 years to play 5. You are either a freshman, a sophomore, a junior, a senior, or a fifth year. That's what it is. So we'll hear from all 4 of those interview subjects from post-practice yesterday. And that's all just the Griz part of this hour. We'll also hear from Braden Zimmer, a freshman All-American for the Montana State Bobcats, a great offensive tackle, an awesome story last year. Got thrown to the fire, quite literally, at the University of Oregon. Had to go against several NFL-caliber guys and went from a guy that was swimming upstream to a guy that was one of the best offensive linemen in the conference to a guy that's, quite frankly, one of the best offensive linemen in the country. Braden Zimmer had a lot of big choices to make this offseason. He got offered some hefty dollar amounts to maybe take his talents elsewhere, but he decided to stay. That's a great story, and he's a sophomore there at Montana State, so we will talk with Braden Zimmer about what last year was like for him, how he grew both literally and figuratively, physically and mentally, and we'll get into whatever else we can about the Bobcat offensive line, so that's what's coming up here in hour number 2. You want to stream the show? You always can, 102.9 ESPN Radio. You can also find us on the ESPN MT app. You can also find us on Facebook and on Twitch. And if you would like to be a part of the show, 406-888-1029. That's 888-1029. Shoot us a text. Let us know what you want us to talk about, 406-888-1029. Get things started off here in our hour number 2 with Bobby Kennedy, the head coach of the Griz. Here is his thoughts from post-practice yesterday.
Pleasure because it kind of gives that camp feel. Get away from campus a little bit, even though we're technically on campus. But just good to be out here. We got a lot of space, and it was fun to be out here for the first time.
What do you like about today?
Yeah, I like that we're starting practices quick. There hasn't been a lull coming out, and there shouldn't be, right? It's only the third day for us. So I like that guys are focused and they're starting practice quick, and now we got to do that day 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, but we got to keep doing that.
When it comes to just commanding an offense, commanding a team, what have you thought of Ayat early on here in camp?
Yeah, he's been excellent. I mean, I've seen growth already. I think he's night and day compared to where he was last year. And so really feel good about where he's at. But, we all got to get better. I think he's got to become a little more vocal, right, with his leadership. But there's no doubt the guys respect him, and he's throwing the ball well, and he's getting them in and out of the huddle. So I'm pleased with where he is, but he's got growth.
What sort of things have you seen out of the guys that show that they do respect him? What sort of things have you seen out of them in terms of their interactions with him?
Yeah, especially the wide receivers, just in terms of talking after plays and just the way they interact with him. He is doing a good job with the offensive line in terms of going up and saying, hey, great block, and that's way to open holes. So really, really happy in that regards. But, we can continue to grow. Like, leadership is a process, and he had a great year last year. And for him to have another great year, he's got to keep taking those steps forward. I'm playing with a little more intent, but also he has more confidence because he's been through it. So really happy with his ball placement and the way he's throwing it right now. Obviously, we don't go live with the quarterbacks, but to see his escapability is also good the way he can move around.
When you think of day 1 practice last year where you're just trying to learn the position group versus day 1 today or a couple days in where it's, organizing everything, last year to this year, just comparisons, and how is it kind of sitting with you, just the way things have changed?
Yes, it's been really good. And obviously, I've said this before, I have a really good staff and guys that I trust. But last year it was like drinking water through a fire hose. Now I've been through it one time, and sure, it's a different role, but it's been fun, and guys have responded well. So I feel good about where I'm at.
what's the position battle that stuck out to you early on here, and you hope to keep monitoring over these next few weeks?
Yeah, I think figuring out who the 5 guys on the offensive line are going to be, right? Offensive line, defensive line. Who's the right fit? What are the right combinations? I think there's really good competition with those groups, and so I'm excited to see how they develop.
This fall camp is going to be the most important for what position group, would you say?
I think once again the offensive and defensive line, because you win up front, and so I'm looking forward to seeing the way they develop and seeing what steps they take. But yeah, every day with the offensive and defensive line, we've got to keep moving it forward.
When you look at that offensive line, there's guys who've been here, right, and some guys have gotten some reps. Just what's kind of stood out about that group? What do you know? Some of these guys have some playing experience, but now they got to step up into bigger roles.
Yeah, I mean they've got to step up, right? And there are some guys with experience like Bueller and some of the other guys. But the thing is, what I've been encouraged with thus far, first few days, the run game in terms of the way that they're opening up holes. So I feel really good about that right now. Now, what's going to happen is we're going to start putting more motions in and more plays and things like that. Now, can they adjust to those things, right? And how are they going to grow in that aspect?
How excited are you just to get to fall camp, be able to kind of really start putting your fingerprints on it as far as coaching goes with the season right around the corner?
Yeah, it's been fun. In terms of the best time of our day is when we can be on the grass with the guys or be in the meeting room. And so being around them and actually kind of having them corralled right now for this period of time has really been fun. And so it's been exciting to get out here to Dornblazer. And obviously we had 2 practices at the River Bowl, and those were really good. But just seeing the energy that they're bringing every day and the camaraderie, I think this is a fairly close team right now. We have to keep building on that unity. But it's been really good being around these guys.
So 1 or 2 more.
You talked about the notebooks you kept over the years. Was there a specific message from that you shared with the guys heading into fall camp?
Yeah, I looked back, and it was something that David Shaw talked about all the time in terms of when you come out to practice, do things with intent. It's not just doing the drills to do the drills, but you're practicing with intent on getting better at everything you do. So that was one of the things that I've gone back and looked up, and a couple points I'm trying to use every day.
The Western Montana Fair is here. I was curious, do you have a favorite fair food?
Obviously, I like cotton candy. It's always good, but corn dogs are really good too. So yeah.
Appreciate Bobby Kennedy for taking some time. Just in the matter of us staying on time, let's keep on rolling. Brent Pease in his 4th year as the offensive coordinator at Montana this stint. He was the offensive coordinator previously back in the 1990s. He's also spent time as the offensive coordinator at various schools like Baylor and Kentucky and Florida and Boise State and Washington. A very decorated career, and he is having, I think, a great time being the primary play caller at his alma mater, and he's got himself a hell of a quarterback. I thought Keali'i looked great during the practice session on Monday. Here is Pease on his offense as well as on his stable of quarterbacks.
All right, Coach. First practice out here at Dornblazer, 3rd of fall camp. Just your initial thoughts after today's practice.
Just thinking about it, I think, you always gauge where you're at as you come in, and knowing what the kids did all summer, because they practiced together all summer, and I think they look great. They're right now early on in practice, you do a lot of timing and rhythm situations, especially within the run game, and they're on target with that. And you got new guys, so those new guys are did a lot of good work with each other this summer. There's a lot of trust involved. And the thing that I look good is, whether it's kudos to Dan, our weight coach, or just the kids themselves, but you're on grass, you always seem to slow down a little bit, but our kids look like they were running really good today. So I'm really happy to see our tempo, our focus, how well they competed.
Obviously, you have a lot of new positions on your offense, but when you get to bring back the quarterback who started a lot of games for you, how far along is the offense, with that considered?
Well, it can be far, far along, but then you got to look around, like I say, because, truly the most important guys that got to be comfortable with what we're doing are the 5 guys up front. And they have experience from last year. They don't necessarily have the experience of playing together, because the 5, 6, 7 guys we had last year played together pretty darn well. And but we got these guys, but we got to make sure that our line's in sync and we're doing things that they can execute. And yeah, Keali'i, he's going to be way ahead of things, which he is. And but that's fine. His leadership needs to step in. How well he executes, how quick he executes things will keep us on par with what we need to do, or accelerate us ahead. And then, you know, we do have a lot of playmakers, I feel, especially with Brooks coming back, and the addition of Landon and Eli, obviously. You know, I think he's one of the best in the nation. And you know, then go with I think the tight ends are going to have a really good impact for us this year.
Keali'i obviously had a great year last year, but is there another level he can get to, and what are your expectations for him coming into the
Sure, I think, yeah, good question. Yeah, you know, I think you always kind of look for consistency, ball security with him, and how well, and he's got to step out vocally and be a lot more of a leader, and keep things in tune, because you never know what's going to happen in game situations, where you start to falter, where it gets tight, and he handled those last year. He probably didn't have as much anticipation in him as he's going to have now, being where he's at with his maturity. So I expect him to be mature in all those game situations, whether we're behind, ahead, tied up, going into halftime, a 2-minute drive in the fourth quarter, whatever it really, you know, and sometimes some bad things are going to happen to him, whether he gets sacked or throws an interception. We don't want that, but that's reality. And, you know, he's got to be able to handle all that and still guide 10 other guys on the field.
A guy like Eli, just with his pedigree, when he comes into, you know, his final fall camp like this, what are your expectations for him? Like, what do you look for him after everything he's accomplished?
Well, I think, you know, the great thing about him, and, you know, you look at it, he came back and all that, and, you know, he's such a humble kid, and so I want everything he can achieve, and I think he's all, the greatest thing about him is he's such a team guy. And you know, I think he has big expectations. I understand that. I tell our guys our standard's a team, unit, me type situation, you know, for the team, for your unit as an offense or positionally. And then, you know, I understand there's great things to happen for you as an individual. And so I expect him to you know, be healthy. We protected him in the spring. He is healthy, run harder. We're going to put him in situations. The thing about Eli that we haven't done as much, and I'll say it now, is he's got good hands. You know, we're not afraid to throw the ball to him and use him that way too. So the fact that we're going to lay it out there, and he has that capability of playing with a number of reps and being very consistent. And as if you go back and look at a game last year, he always came up with a big play at some point in time. Crucial times, you know, I mean, he always created big plays. So I still expect that from him. He's smart enough to understand the run scheme, know where to fit the blocks and keep protections in the pass pro. And I just, you know, with him, it's just polish your game every day. Be as consistent as you can.
Some guys out here today, it's like they've been on the team, haven't played a ton, some transfers. Just what do you like from what you're seeing from that unit as you guys try to find that starting
I
five?
like the fact that, yeah, I think there's a lot of guys competing. I think we got good depth. I think there's still a lot of guys working with each other, you know, to help each other and understand that, you know, one thing, and you guys, you know, I'll say it out loud, we did it last year. I mean, we play guys with depth, whether it's the center, guards, quarterbacks. I mean, use quarterbacks a little different sometimes. I used Wortham back there. Of course, nobody complained about that. But, you know, so we're going to use guys. We want to make roles for players that, you know, they're ready at the right time, or the more guys we can have involved, I think the more guys, you know, project to be guys that are opportunistic or production for your team.
Back to where have you seen him grow the most, just in terms of his command of the offense and just his leadership abilities?
Yeah. I think the game in front of him has slowed down so much that he knows defenses really well by alignments, by pre-snap and post-snap situations, that he can react to those and not put himself in trouble. Where other, you know, as you grow into that, maybe back to when he was with Cliff playing, that, you know, he always just waiting for that guy to be there. But now he knows if it's taking too long, where to go next, and progress through. In a passing design, you progress through your second, third, maybe fourth. But I think he's still confident enough. You know, he is athletic enough to use his feet. We all saw that last year with what he can do by moving the pocket, creating with his feet, which is really, you know, one of his pluses in life.
Well, last year in fall camp, he was trying to win a battle. How do you keep him challenged this year with him sort of already having the spot?
You know, you should ask him that, because I think he realizes if he doesn't do his job, I'll get someone else to replace him. So he's not battling anybody else. He's battling how well he can do. And he knows if he's not consistent and reaching the standard that I expect from the quarterbacks, that I'll adjust and do something different.
How is the depth chart at quarterback looking? I think, you know, obviously, you know, Luke's getting a lot of second team reps, but like after that, how would you describe how things are?
Well, I think we got a lot of, I mean, we got 6 kids, and, you know, I think they all kind of find a role that, I mean, I'm pretty comfortable with, you know, 4 or 5 of these guys, and, you know, Keali'i and Luke, and You know, I mean, Gage has been in there. He's been around. He knows the offense as well as anybody. Cody's coming on. He can, I think, do things. A lot of them just need experience right there, right? I think Drew and Brady J are still young kids that, you know, they got to find their marks and prove themselves. And whether it's now or somewhere down the future, that they'll get that. But 4 guys that have been, we've all been together, you know, three years or more now. They understand the situations and the roles that they can do, and their plus and minuses of their abilities.
One more. The fair's in town. Do you have a favorite fair food?
Favorite food?
Favorite fair food?
I was thinking about the fair, and I did not go. Unfortunately, I went over to Spokane to take my boat out of Lake Coeur d'Alene and had to see that poor thing happening. So prayers to all those people over there. But fair food, I don't even know what they serve at food. I mean, it's got to be something taco related.
Thanks to Brent Pease. This portion of the conversation probably presented in part by Cash One Pond. Cash One Pond, the premier pawn shop in western Montana. Cash One Pond has the best selection of firearms. With hunting season right around the corner, need a shotgun, a rifle, head on out to Cash One Pond on Roller Coaster Road. You can also shop online, Cash One Pond. That's cash1 pond.com. Keali'i Ayat, a All-American candidate, a returning first-team All-Conference player, and a guy that many consider to be one of the best quarterbacks in the United States of America. He made the decision to stay. He talked about his growth as a signal caller following Monday's practice.
Everybody ready?
Yes.
Keali'i, first practice out here at Dornblazer. 3 practices in the fall camp now. How's it going? You enjoying yourself? How's practice looking?
It's great. Great to be back out here with the team, playing football again. So just happy to be playing football again. Season's right around the corner, so I'm excited. I think our whole team is excited, so it's good to be back.
Operationally, how much different or how much similar is it than what you've experienced the last couple fall camps?
I think it's similar. Same carryover. I think I'm just a lot more experienced right now. Just going into my 4th year of fall camp, so just knowing what to expect, and it's going well. I think the whole team is adjusting well, and it's going good.
Last year you were trying to win the job, and now you kind of have it. So how does that change your mentality? How do you continue to sort of challenge yourself?
My mentality doesn't change at all. I'm always hard on myself if I make a mistake or not. So I'm always hard on myself to get better constantly, and never being complacent. So I hold myself to a standard. So yeah.
How have you gone about trying to take on a larger leadership role?
Just be more vocal. Trying to take charge, lead the offense, and just try to motivate the guys, get everyone else to play better, motivate them. And I think if I could do that and just help everyone around me, then I think we'll be in good shape.
It's been a while since the Griz had a guy, like a multi-year starting quarterback, right? So for you getting to do that after last year, coming into this year, you mentioned nothing really changes, but like, did you approach this differently than last year at all?
I don't think I approached it differently. I think my mentality is always the same, but obviously just being here more and having that year under my belt last year, coming off that last year, definitely, I mean, I'm comfortable, but like I said, I'm never complacent. Mentality is just to get this offense to keep improving every single day. So.
I was, you look back at last year, it'd be hard to top that offense, what you guys did offensively. Kind of impossible. But Coach Kennedy mentioned the tight ends could have a bigger role. I mean, how do you match last year? How do you surpass it? Are the tight ends looking that good?
I don't think, I mean, this is a brand new team. We're not looking at last year. We're focused on this year, focused on the team we have right now. And I think it just starts with, I mean, today and going into tomorrow, just every single day, stacking days and seeing where we can end up.
What about the tight ends, though?
I love our tight ends. I think they're a very athletic group. We got great pass catchers on our tight end room now. So I'm very excited about them, and they're doing a great job.
Talk about fourth camp. It probably doesn't feel like it. Probably the first one doesn't seem like it's that far away. Does it feel weird, kind of being an older guy now?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, time flies. I feel like yesterday was just my first day here, my first year. So time definitely flies, and I'm getting older, I guess. So yeah.
What does like a level up for you look like?
I'm not sure. I think just attacking every day, like I said, and we'll see where I end up at the end of the year. I think I can answer it then.
You said not being complacent. Is there an area or a couple of things you're working on specifically that you'd like to improve this season?
Everything. I don't think I'm anywhere close to where I can be. So there's everywhere, and just slowing the game down, still being a student of the game, processing coverages, being a leader out there. So everything.
When people look at this offense, they look at you, Eli, Brooks. It's kind of like this three-headed monster. Guys who played a lot last year, a lot of new faces, a lot of new transfers in the mix now. Just speak to what the guys kind of the offseason focuses were with these guys. Is you have key returners, but a lot of new faces too as you're now in camp.
Yeah, I think it's always just to. Every year is a new team, so I think it's always just to bring the new guys along, get them up to par with what we're doing, getting on the same page as us, and just really creating the team bond, getting close to each other. And I like our new guys. Landon's doing a great job. Legend's doing a great job, and just continue to build with Brooks, Eli, everyone. So
the fairs in town. I don't know if you've ever been to the fair, but do you have a favorite fair food?
I haven't been to the fair, but probably just say tacos.
The off season.
I try to put on some weight, gain a little bit of muscle. Started eating a little cleaner this year, so just trying to put on some muscle and be able to last the whole season, being durable.
Any more?
For joining us. I thought this is good insight from another guy who might not get a ton of headlines, might not play much this year, but Gage Sliter was a great player in high school at Kalispell Glacier. He's been in the quarterback room alongside Ayat for all 4 years that they've both been at UM, and Sliter has great perspective on the rest of his offensive teammates as well. So I figure we'll just play a couple minutes from the Kalispell Glacier product here on Nuanez Now. Here's Gage Sliter.
I hear Dorm Blazer, 3 practices into camp now. How's everything going for you? How are things looking?
Things are great. Guys are carrying over things we did in the offseason this summer really well. It's been great to get back out with the guys and playing, like Keali'i said, just playing football again. It's been awesome.
Working with a guy like Keali'i and just what he did last year, and when he's like working with this room, leading this room, just can you speak to just what it's like, just working with him, learning from him, just being his teammate and seeing what he accomplished last year as well?
It's been awesome. Him and I have become a lot closer over the last 3 years, going into year 4 now, and seeing what he accomplished last year. It's been really fun to watch him work in the offseason, and I can't wait to see what he accomplishes this year.
I know you guys are working all summer and stuff, but to kind of get out here to Dorm Blazer for the first time, like how does it feel to kind of get out here with the guys and get going?
It's been, it was fun getting on the bus today. Cade Boyd and I looked at each other and said it's year 4 because our 4th year going out here, but it's awesome getting out in the summer, being out here with all the guys on Dorm Blazer. It's been special.
A lot of transition for the program this offseason, but a lot of continuity on offense. So how far ahead do you think you guys are in terms of grasping what's demanded of you mentally?
I think guys are really far ahead, especially the guys who have been here, but the new guys especially are really far ahead as well, just with the stuff that they did, trying to learn everything. And then through spring ball, everyone worked really hard on getting ahead and learning everything. Through the summer, guys worked really hard, and just to get that next step of, you're not going into camp learning things, you're going into camp knowing things and attacking every day a step ahead.
For you guys, just like your role as, like you mentioned, a year 4 player now, a veteran on this team, you obviously have an All-American starting quarterback, but like, how do you kind of like, help some of these other young guys along as a leadership, as a voice, as a Montanan? Like, how do you maybe accept some of those roles on the team?
I think it's pretty special to be a Montana kid playing at the school that I grew up, going to every single home game and watching every game with my family. But to help the young guys, just the tradition and legacy and all the special things about this place, and kind of grow and help them, teach them kind of some things that they might not know. And then going to year 4, like you said, it's just the special that I think the mentality doesn't change. With a guy like Keali'i being in front of me, how good of a player he is, my mentality never changes. Being a leader, being a guy that can be vocal, lead by example, work as hard as I can every single day, just with that stuff.
Where did you see Ayat grow the most last year?
I thought I saw him grow the most in kind of reading the field and seeing defenses and his anticipation on things was really good.
Is there anything different that stands out with a new guy in charge leading fall camp, anything like that?
A lot of it's been the same, especially with having guys like Coach Fennessy and Coach Pease still here. Also, our schedule and everything like that's still the same, and it's been fun having Coach BK around. He's different and he's special, and he's a great guy to be around, great guy to follow and have lead the program.
Mike was obviously a big part of the passing game last year. We know what Brooks can do. What have you seen from maybe some of the other guys, the younger guys, or some of the new guys coming in as far as being able to contribute as pass catcher?
Yeah, Mike was a special guy last year, and I think going into this year, guys like Brooks, like you said, and what he did last year, how he can take a step forward, and then guys like Landon, Ian Finch, Jordan Deaver, guys that have been around and are just looking to take that next step, and then Corbin Hendricks, guys like that. It'll be fun to see how those guys do.
Seeing a guy like Eli come back, obviously, for his senior year and everything he's accomplished, do you ever just kind of sit back in awe of what he's done here at Montana and what he could potentially do this final season?
Yeah, it's been special, especially get to know Eli and become one of his good buddies. But to see him stick with a place and come back, and just the anticipation that he has, I know, for the season that everyone has for him, it's fun to sit back and watch, and just sit and watch him play. I mean, he's a special player, and it'll be super fun to watch what he does this fall.
Keep on having that collection of Griz interviews. Appreciate all those guys for making some time. I'm going to try to make it down to practice today again and get some defensive insights. So we'll stay tuned on that. If I can, we will have them. But in the meantime, appreciate you listening. We go from Griz to Bobcats in the second hour. That's next. Don't change that dial. Keep it right here. You're listening to 102.9 ESPN Radio. Welcome back. Nuanez now 102.9 ESPN Radio. We continue our college football coverage. Talking to one of the best offensive linemen in the Big Sky Conference. This part of the conversation probably presented by the Bobcat Collective. Bobcat Collective helped usher Montana State athletics into the new era of college athletics. Montana State has been on the forefront of the name, image, and likeness trend and optimization here these last couple of years. The Bobcat Collective, a huge part of that. If you'd like to donate to the Bobcat Collective or see how you could be involved as a member, visit bobcatcollective.com. Braden Zimmer, a Billings West product and a freshman All-American offensive lineman right here on Nuanez Now. Braden Zimmer chiming in here now, a offensive tackle and a returning All-American for the Montana State Bobcats. Thanks for doing it, man. How's it going? Well, how's your off-season?
Going great. Off-season's been good. Just got back from D.C. and ready to go for camp.
Well, we got to get your thoughts on that because what a cool experience for you guys and a little bit of a whirlwind. It was sort of like a secret until it wasn't a secret, and then everybody in the entire world knew you guys were going to the White House. But what would you think just of being there, seeing the president, seeing the Oval Office, seeing the Capitol building, all the things you guys experienced on Wednesday?
Oh, it was awesome. I've never been to the East Coast, and it was something that everyone's got to see. Like being in the Capitol building, the Oval Office, it was amazing.
There's so much history there, right? And I mean, it's so cool. I got a chance to go to the Capitol and see all the sites and stuff like that back when I was in 8th grade, and it's still one of the most vivid memories of my life, man. Here we are 25 years later, and I think about it all the time. So that's so cool that you guys got to do that. And it's part of a huge honor, too, because you won the national championship. So how have you been able to balance that element of this offseason, to just sort of staying hungry, staying driven, coming into this next year, but also sort of enjoying what you guys accomplished last year?
Oh, yeah. It was our first meeting back. We got a little break after the championship game, and first meeting back, they already were telling us, like, nobody cares about last year. Like, we're at the bottom of the hill. We got to climb all the way back up to the top. Like, this isn't the 25 team anymore. This is the 26 team, and I feel mostly everybody has the same mindset going into it, as in we still need to get better because we know all the other teams are going to get better, so we need to keep up with them.
Well, and they're certainly going to be gunning for you guys now too. So how do you think you guys will handle, or how do you think you'll embrace having a target on your back?
I think we'll be just fine. That was another thing that they talked about is, I don't remember exactly how they worded it, but they said, people are saying we have a target on our back, but why don't we turn around and put a target on everyone else's back?
Well, and you guys have done that so well the last couple of years, so that's probably going to be easy is the wrong word, but a simple transition, right?
Mm-hmm.
So take me through your season last year. I know we talked to you once, but they sort of got thrown in the fire, but then you ended up playing so well. So take me through just sort of the acclimation for you. Like, how did it go at the beginning, and how were you able to steadily get better throughout the year?
It was a big change. Like, even at the end of the year, I was learning something new every day, trying to get better. And I was actually just talking to Titan about this, how thinking about it, I didn't think I got much better, but then we were watching some film from the first couple games, and it was, like, embarrassing to watch the first couple. Like, Smith just did such a great job. Every single one of us got so much better.
I never forget when you were out there again at Oregon in Eugene. I mean, the one dude you were going against, I mean, that guy is like a man beast. I mean, he's got to be a top 10 pick coming down the pipeline. So, I mean, what do you think that did for you, though? Just knowing you hung in that game and you played well. So, what do you think that did for your confidence early on, knowing you could compete against some of the best defensive guys in the country?
Oh, it was huge for my confidence. I kind of went into that game thinking like, I'm a freshman, like I got nothing to lose, first game, so I can't really do wrong. I can only do right. And I went in there, and I remember our scouting report said they were all like 6'3", 6'4", 6'5". We get out there for the first play, and I'm like looking up to all of them, it felt like.
Right, you're 6'7", right?
Yeah, and I think number 10, Mateo, I think he was bigger than me at that time. He was.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Well, it's crazy, but I mean, honestly, probably looking back on it, a great experience for you guys.
Yeah, it was definitely. They always talk about being the sharpest swords get thrown into the hottest fire, and I mean that's about as hot as the fire as you can get as your first game. So.
Yeah. Well, take me through just the evolution of the offensive line last year, because I know you guys had to reshuffle a bunch of things, but then you're able to get it locked in. And like you mentioned, Coach Smith did such a great job, and that was also a huge part of the storyline, a new offensive line coach who helped mold the group, and you guys just were able to evolve and evolve and evolve. So what went into that? What was the process like of sort of reshuffling and then coming together and becoming such a great unit?
He helped keep our mindset straight, as in it doesn't matter who's out there, like – next man up mentality, like everyone knew that at a moment's notice, like you had to be ready to go. And it was a lot of that, just staying prepared, even if you weren't in the starting lineup.
Listening to an interview with Braden Zimmer, sophomore offensive lineman for Montana State. This is Nuanez Now, 102.9 ESPN Radio, as well as the ESPN MT app and 102.9ESPN.com. More on this interview right now. And now you have a lot of guys coming back. So do you think that gives you a little bit of a leg up in terms of just your continuity as a unit?
I think so, yeah. Like it's going to help a lot, but there's also still a lot of learning left to do. Like I feel like I'm kind of in the middle where I'm being asked to step up as a leader and help the young guys, but at the same time I still feel like I'm a student and I have so much more left to learn. And same with the older guys, like Titan and Burke are coming back. I know they have the same mindset, as in they still need to get better.
Where does that come from? Like, because to a man, you talk to your team, and everybody's talking about that. Not resting on your laurels, not being complacent, getting better. Where does that sort of intrinsic drive come from for you guys?
I feel like there's a lot of competition within the team, like going through lifts, and when we do Friday runs in the summer, like there's so many competitions, and like we're competing not only with other teams but also each other and ourselves. Like everybody wants to get better, and we just we push each other, push ourselves, and just comes together as a team.
Well, it's cool to watch, and certainly I think it's going to be a key for you guys this year. For you, how are you feeling physically? I know last year it was a transition, too, because you put on so much weight, but then you were able to handle it so well. Did you put on a bunch more or just a little bit more this last offseason?
Not as much, but I put on quite a bit. I'm sitting about 295 right now, so I got like 15, 20 pounds, and it's going to be the same. Like, I don't really have the option to feel sluggish or complain about it. Like, I just got to get used to it, and that's the good thing about camp is I'll get a ton of reps.
Well, you still move so well, and you carry the weight really well as well. So has that been a process? I mean, have you had to work on your mobility, your flexibility, stuff like that, while also adding the weight?
Honestly, I'd love to take credit, but I gotta just give that to my genetics. I feel like I got really lucky.
That's awesome, because I know when Paul Brott put on all the weight, he's like, man, this is an extra 2 hours worth of stretching so I can be able to actually walk and move, So no, that's great that you have such that it's a gift, no doubt. Tell me about just the offense. Having Justin Lamson back, I know last year he wasn't there during spring. Talking to him during the spring, he talked about how big of a boost up it was to actually be able to get those extra reps and keep on honing what he does best and what you guys do as an offense. How much further along do you think you are going into this fall camp than maybe last one, knowing that he's the guy and he's been with you for more than a year now?
Oh, I feel like we're way above what we were last year. Like last year, like our offense was slow to start. We were sometimes we were really good, sometimes we were really bad, but now we have a full season and a full spring ball together, and so we got a little head start, but still got to keep pushing forward and get to be even more fluid.
Playing for a quarterback like that, I mean, he's so tough and he's so competitive. How much does that just boost you guys up as an offensive line?
Oh, it's awesome. He keeps us all competitive and gets after us, and we get after him. It goes back and forth. He's awesome.
Well, it's been pretty fun to watch him acclimate to everything, and pretty cool to watch you guys evolve as well. Last thing for you, we'll get you out of here on this. What do you hope to get out of these next couple weeks of fall camp, and what are sort of some of the goals from a team perspective to get ready for the season opener?
I feel like we all got similar goals. Like individually, we all got to get better, but along with that we'll get better as a whole team, offense and defense. It's awesome going against such a great defense because I give a lot of credit to our offense ability to going against such a great defense every day.
Well, certainly it's going to be fun to watch. We'll be stopping in for fall camp a couple times here in the next month, but we appreciate you for hanging out with us here today.
Perfect. Good to see you.
Okay, Montana State for facilitating interviews on Media Day. Even though I was not able to make it over there live and in person, we had a remote ability to do some stuff, so we'll have a couple more of those coming up. But appreciate those guys for their contributions, and appreciate Braden Zimmer for sitting down with me and to chat a little bit about his first full year as a college offensive lineman. Take a break, come back, and keep on talking some sports history and also give you some fun facts from around the state of Montana. Nuanez Now rolls on. It's ESPN Radio. Yo, welcome back. Nuanez Now, 102.9 ESPN Radio. Colter Nuanez coming to you through the Grizzly Disposal studio here at the Missoula Broadcasting Company. Grizzly Disposal has construction roll-off boxes for your construction project. Don't wait days or even weeks. Grizzly Disposal can get them to you fast. If you'd like a construction roll-off box within 24 hours, visit GrizzlyDisposal.com or call 406-541-7171. Grizzly Disposal. The only Bears that should be in your garbage. Just got about 10 minutes left here, but I wanted to touch on a couple other things as we take you home. One, we did an abbreviated diamond time, talking a little bit about Barry Bonds. I wanted to extrapolate on a diamond time. It's probably presented by DBAT of Missoula. DBAT Missoula, the premier baseball and softball academy in the Garden City. They're located on Burlington Avenue, and it's state-of-the-art batting cages plus a state-of-the-art clubhouse with any and all of your diamond sports gear needs, etc. We're going to give you a chance here in just a little while to win a 75 swing card from DBAT, so you can go check it out and try it out for yourself. One thing, though, that is circling around the wide world of baseball, and I've seen this on Twitter all over the place, and it's been funny to sort of consume, and that is that the Los Angeles Dodgers are ruining baseball. The Dodgers have by far and away the highest payroll in the bigs. The Dodgers have an absolutely stacked roster. But I would argue twofold. One, the structure of the major leagues is what it is. That is an advantage for anybody that would like to take an advantage of it. Here's the other thing, though. The Dodgers do have one of the most stacked rosters in baseball. They have one of the most talent-laden pitching staffs. They have one of the deepest batting orders. And guess what? They have the best record in baseball, but not by a crazy amount. Right now, the Dodgers are 69-44. That is actually, in fact, not the best record in baseball. They are a half game behind the Milwaukee Brewers in the loss column. Milwaukee and LA each have 69 wins. The Brewers have 43 losses. The Dodgers have 44 losses. So actually, Milwaukee, the best record in baseball. The Atlanta Braves are only a game and a half behind the Dodgers. They're at 67-45. The Phillies are up there with 60 wins as well. The Cubs have 64 wins. And then in the American League, the Rays have 66, the Yankees have 63, and the Red Sox have 60. So there's a whole bunch of teams that are just right there. So this is more than just about having the absolute most money. There's a whole bunch of teams that are not spending as much as the Dodgers that have almost the same record. Also, The Dodgers are spending the most money, but they're not and they certainly can spend the most money because they're in a big market and they have Shohei Ohtani, which then just gives so much revenue in terms of merchandising and branding and things like that. But that doesn't mean that they're the only team that can spend that much money. I don't expect anybody to have a payroll like the Dodgers, but you could come close, and you could be closer than a lot of these teams are, right? Like I saw a tweet that was saying that the Dodgers pitching staff, just their starting five, just their pitching rotation, has a higher payroll, $141 million, than the St. Louis Cardinals, the Miami Marlins, or the Washington Nationals. Okay. If you were comparing the Dodgers to maybe the Pittsburgh Pirates or the Kansas City Royals, I could see the argument of the disparity there. The Cardinals are one of the proudest franchises in baseball. They have multiple World Series titles. That is ridiculous that they are spending so little money. That is them being cheap. Again, I don't expect them to spend like the Dodgers. I expect them to spend more than what they're spending. You can if you want to win. Here's the deal. If you're running a pro sports team like a franchise that wants to be successful, that is completely and utterly different than running a pro sports team like a franchise that wants to run it like a business to make money. Donald Sterling made as much money as anybody when he was running the Los Angeles Clippers, and they won nothing. Squadoosh, zero. Having an operating budget and staying within the budget and stuff like that is not what pro sports ownership, pro sports organization, all that is about. So, again, do I expect St. Louis to spend like the Dodgers? No, but I think they should spend more than they spend. I think they should try to win because they have a winning tradition. They have great fans. Miami, I mean, that's as desirable as a place for a baseball player to want to go play. You also have the Latin American influence, which there's such a Latin American influence in baseball as well. There's ways that you can speak Spanish while living in Miami, so that's a way easier cultural transition. And then Washington, you're talking about the nation's capital, one of the biggest cities in the country, one of the biggest markets in the country. That's a huge draw for everybody as well. They have no excuse to not be spending either. So again, if you want to tweet at me and say that the Dodgers spending 10 times as much as the Kansas City Royals or the Pittsburgh Pirates is completely disparate, okay, I'll listen to that. But if you're talking about Miami and Washington and St. Louis, man, come on. Again, a lot of this is just the way that the ownership groups want to operate. Guess who the Dodgers share a city with? The Los Angeles Angels. Who's got the worst record in baseball? The Los Angeles Angels. That is a decision that they have made to not invest in winning. That's on them. That's on them. Nuanez now, it's tonight, ESPN Radio. Diamond Tide, probably presented by DBAT of Missoula, located on Burlington Avenue. Go check out their state-of-the-art batting cages, whether you're a slow-pitch softball player, a fast-pitch baseball player, you want to have a birthday party, you want to get some cuts in, or you want to hone your skills at a high level, DBAT's got it for you. Appreciate that for being involved with us here at ESPN Radio. Text us if you want a couple swing cards. We got 75 swing cards. We'll give you 2 of them so you can go with a buddy or a family member or your kids or whatever. 406-888-1029. That's 888-1029. Text us. You want 75 swings times 2 to DBAT of Missoula. Shoot us a text, 406-888-1029. Okay, here's where we're at as we make the turn into August. The trade deadline was earlier this week. There was some big-time trades, and I think we kind of know right now who is contenders and who's pretenders. The contenders in the American League. In the East, the Rays are in first place. They're 3.5 games up on the Yankees, 5.5 games up on the Red Sox. But the Yankees and the Red Sox are the 2 teams that are leading in the wild card. So the East stacked right now in the American League. In the Central, Chicago clinging to a 3-game lead over Cleveland. Cleveland is in third in the wild card behind the Yankees and the Bo Sox. But the White Sox, one of the surprise teams in baseball after having one of the worst teams in the history of the game. They are somehow 7 games above 500 and leading their division. Can they hold off Cleveland? We shall see. Minnesota probably still in that contender realm. They're a game below 500, but they're still in the mix in the wild card. In the American League West, The Houston Astros have a 2.5-game lead over both the Rangers and the Mariners, but even though those teams are still in the mix for the division, they are the Rangers and the Mariners are just as many games out of the wild card as they are in their own division, and that's for the third place in the wild card, let alone first place. So Mariners going to have to figure something out. They've been largely disappointing all year long. In the National League, Atlanta Braves running away with the American League or the National League East, despite the fact the Philadelphia Phillies have been good, and the Phillies have been great since firing their manager and going with Don Mattingly. But Atlanta 7.5-game lead over Philly. They look like they're in full control of that division. The Cubs have been continuing to push the Brewers, but the Brewers have been continuing to set the pace in the entire National League. They got the best record in the bigs. They are 5.5 games clear of Chicago. Chicago sits there with a sizable 6.5-game lead over the Pirates for second place in the Central. And then out west, the Dodgers are in firm control of that division. They're 9 games ahead of the Arizona Diamondbacks in the wild card in the NL. The Cubs with a 4-game lead. D-backs and Phillies tied in second. The Padres and the Marlins still in the mix, as are the Pittsburgh Pirates and the St. Louis Cardinals. But they got some work to do. So there's your most recent and post-trade deadline Major League Baseball standings update. Diamond Time proudly presented by DeMorris Automotive. DeMorris Automotive has been serving Missoulians since 1958. They are your go-to when it comes to Buick GMC automobiles and Mercedes-Benz as well. Locally owned, family-owned DeMorris Automotive, proud to present Diamond Time here on Nuanez Now. Fun show. We appreciate you for hanging out with us. Tomorrow we'll have a great lineup for you. We will hear from Samuel Kim inside the FCS. We will also hear from Montana State defensive coordinator Bobby Daly. We'll also hear from a couple more Griz subjects as well, and we'll fill in the blanks wherever we can. Maybe have some high school interviews too. We'll see you at 4 p.m. Appreciate the time. Thanks so much for hanging. Nuanez Now, ESPN Radio.